Why would you go through all of this pain of early sobriety and all of the awkwardness and the weird, every single event in your life, you're going to have to learn how to do differently, and relationships you have to do. Why would you go through that? And so I love that you're talking to people, because I also feel like we can handle anything that we expect, you know? And so if people know in advance that the first year is going to suck, but it's worth it.
So let's tell me about your first year. I mean, you told me a little bit. For 8 months, you went to 3 meetings a day. You called your sponsor for an hour a day. I mean, those are, are you willing to go to any lengths to get sober and to stay sober? And so tell me about your first year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Those first 3 months were unequivocally the hardest time in my entire life. I would probably birth another child before I would do those 3 months of sobriety, early sobriety again. Everything hurt. And I love that you're talking to the newcomer in this. And again, this is the reason that I share my ugly story and I air my dirty laundry, because I didn't have an example back then of what a sober life could look like, and why would you go through all of this pain of early sobriety and all of the awkwardness and the weird, every single event in your life, you're going to have to learn how to do differently, and relationships you have to do. Why would you go through that? And so I love that you're talking to people, because I also feel like we can handle anything that we expect, And so if people know in advance that the first year is going to suck, but it's worth it, then they can program their brains. Like, okay, this is going to be bumpy, but hold on, because in the end, it'll be worth it. And that's just how it was for me. I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know. I never had a picture of someone who had been through recovery before to be an example or a guiding light in some way for me. So I was just doing it blind. I didn't know how challenging it would be, but I knew at the core of me that the way I was doing life, which started with my thinking and my belief systems, was no longer going to serve me. And that was not the path to get me to the life that I truly, truly wanted. I already tried the other direction, doing it all externally, doing it the right way according to the business books and the business schools and how you achieve greatness and all this stuff. And it didn't work. So I knew that. And I knew that I needed to give it all up. And so recovery at the early days was me going, I surrender. I'll do what I'm told for the first time in my life. And yeah, I mean, before I would wake up in the morning, I remember having the covers, and this was at the friend's house, on the couch, I'd have the covers to here, and my body just ached. My body hurt from withdrawals, and my mind hurt, and it was foggy, and everything was just so unclear. And I hated myself, and I hated life, and but I didn't know any alternatives. And my blanket would be up to here, but I would get on the phone with my sponsor and just be like, oh, what? And I don't know what to ask or to say. And she would just keep me on the phone, and she would start asking me these really simple questions. And then that somehow became showing up to 3 meetings, and then meeting people for coffee, and slowly but surely, if I couldn't do something like I used to do, I remember being in Barnes and Noble, and I had forgotten how to not engage in flirtation. And I know that sounds so weird, but I didn't even know how to not flirt. I did it so often with so many people that I literally had to call someone when I was in line in Starbucks and put my head down, and in Barnes and Noble and in the grocery store, and get on the phone with somebody from program and be like, okay, talk me through this. I'm going to keep my head down.
To get a free copy of the 12-step guide that I created for you, click on the link in the description below.
Or how to go through a grocery store without doing the liquor section first, because that's all I really cared about,
Yeah.
And all of those things. I remember in the first year, man, every event was a brand new thing. To do your first Thanksgiving sober, was monumental, to go to my first football game without drinking. Every event had an alcohol that was associated with it, right? Don't people have that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything in life. I mean, for me, everything revolved around drinking and doing drugs. I mean, every single thing: concerts, football games, baseball games, weddings, parties, birthday parties, Christmas, Thanksgiving, July 4th, Memorial Day, all of it. There was always everything.
Yeah.
And so that first year, it's not only is it your first year and it's the hardest, but you're also doing all of these things for the very first time in your life while trying to stay clean and sober.
Right. And everything has associations with it, right? It was impossible, like white knuckling, to go sit at a baseball game and not drink beer, until I dropped out. So in the early days, some things that helped me was, and I know there's controversy around whether to do or not do this, but at times I would drink non-alcoholic beer at the beginning, so that I could still have that sensation. I could practice going out and not getting hammered at a baseball game, but I could still enjoy, the cold, frothy experience until eventually I no longer even needed that. I could find something else, a soda or something that would work instead. But I kind of, I tried to replace with non-alcoholic. If I went to someone's house, I would go get some non-alcoholic wine from the grocery store. There's like 2 or 3 brands back then. I don't know how many there are now, because I don't even do that anymore. I mean, it's essentially like Welch's on, that's souped up. But it helped to switch the habits that were so thoroughly ingrained.
If you got value from this video, if you heard what you needed to hear, be sure to like it. Comment if you've got a question or you have something to say. Subscribe to the channel. Camelback Recovery provides treatment services for people struggling with mental health, mental illness, addiction, alcoholism, whatever it may be. So if you or a loved one is struggling and you need some guidance and you need some direction, reach out to us. Our contact information is down below, or you can go to our website, camelbackrecovery.com, whether it be detox, inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, sober living, recovery coaching, sober companion services, whatever it may be. Like I said, we can either help you or make sure that you get sent in the right direction. We help people all over the country, all over the world for that matter. I'll see you on the next video.